right, let's do this. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here. We're gonna hang out for a bit. So I don't really have some like super set agenda as far as how we will actually go about creating this, but I wanted to do this kind of collaboratively, get feedback from people. Obviously, I have no idea if people would show up, but I'm gonna act like a bunch of people are here. So, Milton, good to see you, man. Shemaya, good to see you as well. Glad you guys are here. Also, I don't know if this music is too loud. Someone let me know, because obviously I can't listen to my own stream. Otherwise, you guys would hear it too. But let me know it's too loud. Curtis, good to see you, man. So tonight I want to, I haven't decided what my next video is going to be about. So what I wanted to do is hear from you guys. And cool, that helps me. Thank you, Curtis. So I'll bring that down a bit. And then that should be better, I hope. Gonna trust that it is. I know, Milton. I wish there was too. I'm sad there isn't. So yeah, I want to hear from you guys. Any sort of topics that you think would be worth covering this week. Any ideas that you have or things that you want to see me cover. I have 2 ideas listed currently, but we're gonna go through this whole process. So we're gonna pick a topic together, whatever that topic is, and then we are going to, and then we're gonna dive right into actually figuring out some research for it and my process for that, and then how I actually write this stuff out. And if I have the energy, at the end of that, we will actually record it live tonight, which means you guys will see all the terrible takes that I do as I try and record it, but I'll walk you through that whole setup. The catch is for energy levels. I was actually up for 24 hours. Yesterday, I had to take my housemate to the ER for some health issues. He's fine. Don't worry, he's fine. But I was up for 24 hours, so today has been a day, to say the least. So we're here today, gonna do as much as we can and have a good time together. So I'm gonna swap over to this screen. So what we're looking at is my video ideas document. I update this as I go, so I'll remove old topics like Dave Ramsey was on here. Wage increase versus cost increase and expenses, that's on here. And then one that I'd wanted to do, I actually did a sermon on it quite a long time ago. Let me turn me up too. That should be a lot better now. But listening to understand versus respond. And when I did the sermon on this back when I pastored, actually, that sermon was titled Conversations with Fire, and it was actually Moses listening to God at the encounter at the burning bush. And so that is something that I love, that is backed up by some research as well, listening to understand versus listening to respond. The basic idea there is that most people, and you'll see this all over social media too, that most people listen to respond. So they're listening and trying to find the one thing that they can respond to and jump in on. And I just did a reaction video where all it was me listening to respond. I wasn't, and that's kind of reaction videos as a whole as that trend. So this video, if I did it, would be more about the idea of how do we transition from listening to respond to listening to understand, and what does that change when we do that? Milton, I like this idea of worship music. Why there's so much conflict from which music is appropriate for worship. I like this, so I'll add this here. And then, ooh, Pixie Dust, I like this. Christianity and the LGBTQ plus community and ways for that relationship to heal. I like this. This one's hard because you've got a situation where compromise is kind of difficult, right? Because there's like one item that in many cases there's one element or one facet of that whole topic that no one really wants to give up. So that one is really, really interesting as far as how do we find ways to heal and how do we build those bridges when there is this kind of one big dividing line. And I think that's something that is worth talking about. I think that's valid. Absolutely. Let's see, what else? Ooh, start your own church if you want to be a pastor. So you capitalize church, and I don't know if that's just because that's the way you do it, or if you mean like, do you mean denomination? Or do you mean just like local church? You just meant church. Okay, cool. Man, I hope my latency isn't that bad. But I guess we'll find out here. I have it set to ultra low, so I'm hoping I'm hoping you're not listening to this like 30 seconds after I say something. But okay. Yeah. I think this is something that's valid. I probably wouldn't do this week. I'm definitely looking for something that is a little bit more I think a little bit more timely as far as I'd love to speak to something that is either spurred on by recent events or something that people are asking about. So part of the approach to YouTube and part of the approach to making these videos and deciding on YouTube content and podcast content in general is finding current events and things that people are interested in and already talking about and joining in on that conversation. This helps with discoverability. This helps with visibility, the whole 9 yards. And so I'm trying to identify some of those and add those in to mine. So like, an obvious one would be the Nashville bombing. And if I talked about that, I would actually talk about media coverage around it as well. I like the interview angle. I mean, that's podcasting. You just listened to Phil Vischer. What did he release a video on it? I know everyone is. Like Hassan just released one today too, I think, or yesterday. But I need you to finish your sentences, okay? That's all I need. I just need you to finish your sentences. Let's see, did he? Creationism and fundamentalism. Oh, that's right. Because Phil Vischer like gave some not weird alternative, but like he gave some history that tied it back to Seventh-day Adventists, and all of like creationism and fundamentalism has its roots in the Seventh-day Adventist movement, which like isn't true. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's what I thought. I haven't listened to it yet, but I saw his old Twitter thread. Let me see if I can find it actually. Let's see if I can find it. I apologize if anything shows up here that like I can't control what other people are tweeting. Oh, Don Wells. Sad. Oh, does it? Okay, cool. I'll have to check out his podcast. I actually haven't listened to Phil Vischer is an interesting character. Okay. Got it pulled up. I've really got to do that. I've got to like go the route of like the way that normal streamers do this and like pull up things off screen and then bring them onto onto the stream. That way, like, I can control what's actually showing up on, showing up on my stream. So yeah, I'll have to check this out. I didn't realize he's done 400 episodes too. That's really cool. I really do. Ravi Zacharias is one I'd want to talk about too, because we did a podcast episode on him back in August. And I have a lot of strong feelings about how the church is responding to or has treated Ravi Zacharias in light of all the accusations. And I think there's some big dangers in the way that people are kind of memorializing him, despite some of the things or all of the things that he actually did. And I think that actually sets a bad precedent for how we develop Christian leaders in the future. Let me see if I can. Yep, there it is. Found it. Oh yeah, so Ken Ham responds. I love that, like, this whole podcast episode started a Twitter beef with Ken Ham. I think that's amazing. So yeah, Phil said my response to him was to point out the video was about differences between fundamentalism and neo-evangelicalism, and that his particular strain of scientific theory, young earth creationism, was never adopted by neo-evangelical leaders or institutions. It is a truly fundamentalist development. What's even more interesting is that of the 90 essays defining fundamentalist belief in the 1910s, 0 of them proposed a young earth. And it was born out of interpretations of a vision one of the founders of Seventh-day Adventists claimed to have had, which turned into a book called A New Geology by one of her followers in the 1920s. I haven't verified any of this. I'm interested to. I'll have to check out the podcast episode, because I am genuinely curious about this, and I think this is something that I'd want to jump in on and talk about too. I think absolutely this is something. And then Ravi Zacharias. By the way, if anyone's curious what I mean by concerned about the precedent this sets for developing future leaders, what I mean here is essentially if we look past someone who earned their position and their platform through fraudulent ways, and then proceeded to abuse that platform and abuse the power and influence that they had from that platform. All we're doing is saying that if you are a charismatic enough person, if you seem like a wise or kind enough person, then it doesn't matter how you get the power that you get. It just matters that you're kind, and that you make a positive difference in some people, and that's all that matters. And while I'm not going to sit here and pretend like leaders should be perfect, because that's impossible, obviously, I think that it does set a dangerous precedent. And I think I'm really glad for the latest set of accusations that came out about Ravi, because that have been confirmed by the RZIM board, Ravi Zacharias International Ministries board, because I am worried that 10, 20 years from now, we end up with a bunch of leaders that whether they would say so or not, took direct inspiration from this kind of thing. And I don't want to see that happen, both within evangelical Christianity and within my own denomination. I think that's something I really don't want to see. And so I will be covering that at some point for sure. So we've got some good ones. Any others that you guys think would be worth covering here? I have some links here just because I looked those up earlier. And this one I actually want to talk about a little bit more too, because there's parts of the wage increase and disparity between wage increase and expense increase and inflation that are common misconceptions and myths. But I need to do some more research to kind of identify what that is and identify what those are and be able to synthesize them well. So any other chat, any other suggestions, ideas? of fringe speakers like Walter Veith or heading that way speakers like Doug Batchelor. Man, you're pulling no punches, Curtis. All right. Yeah, I think that that is a conversation worth having, especially how we handle independent, how do we interact with independent ministries too. And by the way, just so like we're 100% clear, like everything I do is technically an independent ministry. Absurdity, the YouTube channel, all of it is technically an independent ministry. All the podcasts essentially are, unless they're directly tied to something. But I'm doing this completely on my own. So that is something to note. That being said, there's a version of independent ministries that operate with official approval from the church. David Gates's ministry used to operate like that until 2013. And then there are others that just do whatever they want. And that would be something like Save to Serve with Andrew Henriquez. Absolutely. Doug Batchelor is interesting because he's technically is a pastor and gets a salary of like, I think $1 or something like that from Amazing Facts. But then he actually just takes a pastor's salary is my understanding. But I'm not like 100% sure on that. And I'm going to fix my camera. There we go. All the independent ministries. Can we do like a WWE SmackDown of independent ministries? Like whose gruesome images of the four beasts of Daniel or the two beasts in Revelation? Like whose is the more gruesome? What's going on with Walter Veith? It's not. There's nothing that I know of that's really new. The newest thing about Walter Veith has been the arguable date setting that he did recently. But 2020 has been a decade, so I'm going to assume he did that somewhere around 4 years ago. And by years, I mean months. Walter Veith in general, it's not so much that I'm aware of. I haven't come across anything specific that Walter Veith has done within the last like 2 weeks or so. But it's more about his overall messaging and things that he's released. The idea that someone would start listening to Walter Veith or watching Walter Veith has then it just shares it, like it's just concerns. If someone's sharing posts from him, like the question becomes, what else have they seen from him? Do they believe a lot of what he says? That kind of thing. And like I personally, I have the belief that we have a lot of Seventh-day Adventists within our own denomination that are, anti-vax or COVID-19 is a hoax and government's trying to control us. And like all of that, I have a feeling that a lot of that is tied directly to the style of evangelism that ministries and some of our older evangelistic series styles have done. And there's a direct result because the exact kind of person that we attracted in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and before then even too, were people that are conspiracy minded. And this is something that I do feel a lot of regret about within our own history, and I wish we would speak to it and do a lot more to intentionally change it. But we kind of have clung to old imagery and clung to old ways of doing things that very much relied on fear. And I would rather see evangelism done through the lens of hope without needing to access people's fears that way. I think there's something to be said about speaking to people's fears, but I don't like using fear to get them in the door, and then bait and switching them essentially. And there was actually if you want an example of what I'm talking about, by the way, let me see if I can. If you've ever heard of the podcast Oh No, Ross and Carrie. So Ross and Carrie, they're essentially they're two, I think, atheists, but they say we jump into the fringe science, spirituality, and the paranormal, so you don't have to. And their whole shtick is basically they watch all the videos, they attend all the seminars, they do all the things so that you don't have to, and then they come back and talk about it. And they actually attended a 26-part evangelistic series in California. I think it was 2 years ago. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago. (2017). Wow, 3 years ago, man. David Stewart was the evangelist for that event too. They actually got him on the show. Let me see if I can find the other episodes. You know, right now I'm only finding the one that they did, the interview they did with him afterward. Here's the interview they did with him after they had released the other 5 parts or 4 parts on the evangelistic series. Await the end times. So if you look up, if you wait for Ross and Carrie, await the end times, you'll see parts 1 through 4. I'm going to send part 1 here. But yeah, they did it. They attended I think their conversation was super enlightening. Like, I think it was something that it's really good to hear an outsider's perspective on the thing that you're doing, because ultimately when you're doing evangelism, oftentimes the only people that you hear feedback from are the people that came forward, right? So, oh no, Ross and Carrie basically gave David Stewart the opportunity, and I think he said so in the interview with them, that that was the first time that he actually sat down and listened to anyone's feedback on the series. So good on David for doing that too, by the way, because that's essentially entering the lion's den. But I think that was really cool of him to do, and to sit down with them. I just thought that was amazing. I don't like, I'm just gonna say, Pixie Dust, no problem. Curtis, yeah, Curtis, for the most part, is right. I think he is I wouldn't say under the guise of a preacher. I think he is a preacher. I just think that his methods utilize fear as a tactic, and I wish that wasn't so much the case. I just don't like the idea of anything that presents itself as we have secret knowledge of X, Y, or Z, and we are better because we have that knowledge. And I don't think that's the attitude that you should take, regardless of what your prophecy understanding, you know, whatever that is, regardless of what it is. I think there's an air of humility that needs to be kept as you approach these things, and an air of equality that also needs to be kept. This idea of, you know, not holding yourself better than anyone else because you have some secret information that they're not privy to yet, and that you have the key. And unfortunately, in a time like COVID-19, where there's a lot of talk about freedoms and government control and all of that, ministries like Walter Weiss, who already have a huge online presence, were already growing, or we're now in a position to basically capitalize on that and grow even more. That's sad to me, unfortunately. Let's see if I can't get the... I apologize, you're going to hear a random video for like 2 seconds. Ooh, I muted it before it played. Sweet. Trying to figure out exactly how to add the YouTube chat to the stream without just like doing a window capture. But I have a feeling it's just going to be window capture. Oh, cool. Okay. I can do that. I can definitely do that. All right, so I'm about to do a straw poll on this, by the way, on what we should talk about and what video we should make tonight. So all right, I think I got it now. Whoa, what is happening to my camera? Hey, we out here. We got the chat up. There. Now people can see if they like join in late. Now they can see exactly what I'm responding to. All right, we're going to do a straw poll. If you are here and you want to vote on what we're going to do, I really hope there's an odd number of people here or an odd number of people participate, because that way I know which one we're going to do. So the first thing that we're going to do is narrow it down to 3. So I'm going to list pretty much all of these out except for Phil Vischer, because that's something I want to come. I need to listen to that podcast. That's different. But it's okay to start your own church if you want to be a pastor. That one I'm also going to do later. And then all right, so I'm creating the straw poll now. First thing we're going to do is narrow it down. So we're going to do a couple straw polls here. So the first thing we're going to do is, unless it won't let me. Will it let me? Ooh. Any others before I put this out? Because right now we've got 4 copied in, or 6 copied in. All right. The people have not spoken. We're going for it. All right, here's the straw poll in chat. Vote for one. Shemaya, glad you're back, dude. So we are voting on, just pick one. What is one topic of these in this list that you want to, if you click that straw poll link, that you want to see me cover? We're gonna pick, I don't know how many people are here. I try not to watch, I try not to check my concurrent viewer count. Okay, there's 4 of us here. We're chilling. There's 5. Bro, you're watching YouTube by watching me. Didn't you know? All right, I got 2 votes in, but there's 4 of you here. 4 of you here. By the way, if one like clearly wins here, then we'll just do that one. But if we get 3 or 4, if we get 3 that or 4 that like there's just kind of even across the board, then yeah, we'll just do that one. But it's your chance to be heard. Straw poll, if you're just joining us, straw poll is pinned to the top of chat. So click that, get your vote in. What should my next video topic be? My next video topic should be me. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Curtis. You want me to talk about me for the next video. I am a current event, so that's fair. The problem is that no one knows who I am. So doing a video about me doesn't really have a lot of interest off the bat unless there's something interesting about me. All right, we're down to 2. We're going to count these because no one else voted. So, and I'm cool doing this with a small group. I'd do for 1 what you would do for 100. So, all right, cool. So we're going to go down to just Christianity and the LGBTQ plus video or listening to understand versus respond. So I'm going to get another straw poll up here. Don't worry, man. I will probably do a video about myself here soon. I know I did one about growing up without a dad several months ago. I decided to just make an account. I could see myself doing this more often. So now I've got to confirm my email. There it is. Verify now. Cool. Great poll. All right. Here is the latest. Vote for this one. Whatever wins here is the one that we will do. Which means the next step of this process is actually going to be figuring out the outline. I should probably turn on auto refresh results. Man, y'all just want me to get in trouble, don't you? That's what I've decided. And I'm here for it. All right, we're going to talk about this and we're going to journey through this together. More people voted for this than did the first one. So I am going to do, just so we're clear, I'm likely at some point going to do all of these ideas. So like, don't think that that's not going to happen. But these ones for now are probably the Nashville bombing is going to be the only one I don't really cover. I don't have a lot to say about that isn't being said by other creators. But okay, Christianity and the LGBTQ plus community and ways for that relationship to heal. So that's what we're doing tonight. So we're gonna, Justin Koo, love his channel. He and I are friends, and I love what he's doing. I am a big fan of I'm Listening. I have not yet actually listened to the series he did with Bridget Eileen. I know that him and Caleb Isley both have really connected with her. I'm listening. Should probably type in Justin Koo at the end of that. And yes, it's K-O-A or K-H-O-E, but it's Justin Koo. What's interesting, this is interesting. Okay. Huh. Yo, this is what's so frustrating to me about any topic like this. So if I pull up this video, so this is part 1. Questions for a Queer Christian Q&A part 1 of 2. How clear is the Bible on homosexuality? 36 dislikes. And it is interesting to me because if I were to go to his actual channel here, atheist attacks Christians, now they're friends, 99%. I use vidIQ, by the way. That's my kind of YouTube plugin that I use. Helps me track stats, things like that. So why this Christian mom is pro-choice, 82%. Talking religion with my pagan barber 8 months ago, 96%. But the second LGBTQ plus comes up, that starts to tank. Now this one surprised me. Is both of these surprised me as far as their like-dislike ratio, but suddenly these two aren't doing as well. I haven't seen the affirmative interaction video. Am I missing it? Am I just not seeing it? Where is it? Ah, there it is. Episode 17. Ooh. Bro, I have limits on how many guests I'm game to have a roundtable talk with for any sort of podcast. Like 5 is my absolute max because I think way too like pragmatically about things, and I start dividing up like if you have an hour-long show. Granted, they go for about an hour and a half, but if you have an hour-long show and you have 5 people, each person can talk for what? A total of like 18 or 17 minutes. And when you also include intro, outro, and anytime before the guest is introduced, suddenly that's been taken out by another 10, 15 minutes. So really you get 13 minutes per person to talk, and that's if everyone talks equally. But there's always one host that talks way more than everyone else. There's always one guest that talks way more than everyone else. Like I am a big proponent of trying to limit things as much as possible when it comes to bringing guests on the show. But I'll have to check this one out. Pro tip, don't ever just swallow an entire piece of ice. That really hurt. Yeah, Michael Nixon is on here. Let's see, who else is on here that I can recognize? Paul Anthony Turner, Jordan Smart's on here. Garrison Hayes and Simone. I can't tell who the others are here. Let me see. Oh yeah, I don't know the other people, so that makes me that helps. That's why I didn't recognize them. But this is good. I like this. So I think so when I start a video outline, typically what I'll do is I'll start with kind of the intro and outro for the YouTube channel. I do everything in Google Docs because then I can quickly move it from my computer to my phone because I use my phone as a teleprompter. So or at least I use it. Yeah, I use it as the screen for the teleprompter. I actually physically now have a teleprompter, which is great. I had to make, for the longest time I was using one that was makeshift out of a binder and a picture frame from Walmart, and really, really glad that I have an actual teleprompter now. So yeah, so typically when I'm making a video, I will start with, what's up everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Ryan Becker and I discuss absurd issues in religion, culture, and society, and I try to find a way to navigate them. So the anything body-wise is going to go right in here. So the question that we're trying to, I'm going to rename this to I'm going to broaden that to save people there. So the specific question that it seems like we're trying to answer here, and I'm going to scroll back up through chat real quick. Oh, I just saw another. I'm going to copy this in. Pixie Dust, I'm sorry that I missed this, but I'm going to copy that in for later. How to witness when Christianity is often grouped with both being conservative, both spiritually and politically. I think that's interesting too. So ways for that relationship to heal. I would actually love to hear some thoughts here too. Maybe we include something from chat in this video too, and of course I will credit you if that happens. But yeah, what are your thoughts here? What is something that you think? What do you think is something that can help heal that relationship or you know, bridge that divide? By the way, whether it can or can't be healed is also up for conversation too. What am I looking for? Oh, I'm dumb. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, so Shemaya, starting off with conversations. Okay, so I think there's a starting point that we need to kind of figure out, because starting off with conversations and being open to bridging the gap is like, both of those things require steps before them, right? Like, starting off with conversations assumes that there is someone that assumes that there's already someone you know of to have a conversation with, and being open to bridge the gap. Well, how do we open someone up to bridge that gap? Like, no one is, I won't say no one, but very rarely is, I think, someone just like, yeah, I'm just suddenly I've decided that I'm open to it. Like, usually there's some sort of trigger, and 90% of the time it's like, you know, a parent found out their child identified as LGBTQ plus, and suddenly those worlds collided, because that other, as Curtis mentioned, now becomes, you know, someone that they know. It's a face, it's a name, and that's no longer something that can be rejected, or something that can be not rejected, ignored. Now some parents still double down, unfortunately, but yeah, that's something that is that's something that is something I find common. But I guess we got to decide, should we do this from the perspective of an individual, like, what should I as an individual Christian do, or to heal the relationship? Like, how do we heal? Who is the we, right? Ways for that relationship to heal between Christianity and, like, it sounds like the three of us are without actively saying, but agreeing that the problem is stemming from the way the church has treated this group. And that's fine, because like that happens to be where I stand too, that the reason for the fracture is how church people have treated LGBTQ plus individuals. And then that divide gets worse when, or like not gets worse, but is amplified then by the reaction of LGBTQ plus people to then, go the opposite direction. Personally, I think this is hard. Like I want to talk about this from the institutional standpoint. The problem is that how do we okay, Pixie, since you're the one who suggested this, I'm going to listen to that too. In my mind it could be individual. How do we as individuals treat this community as Christians? Now, what's interesting to me is like we don't ask this about literally anyone else. Like that shows just how far behind we are in this area. Like we don't ask this about how do we treat anyone of a different race as a person. Now, granted, racism is an issue, don't get me wrong. But like that's not a question that like actively gets asked. Like the fact that we have to ask is a problem. Now, one thing, but the church as a whole is not taking a stance either. Okay, so yes, but one thing I wish more people would understand, and this is kind of a reality, and this is why this is part of why I released the video on student loan forgiveness too, right? So the church is run, or churches in general, but if we want to talk about Seventh-day Adventism, we can focus in there. The church in general is kind of run on money that comes in as donation, right? Tithe and offering is all donated money. So the problem is that younger people like myself, like Curtis, Shemaiah, college grads, really anyone under the age of 40, those people aren't giving the same way that they used to just in general. And while, yes, we are willing to give towards causes that we care about and things that we see happening, the problem is that we're not giving before then. So the church is taking an inherent risk in essentially if they were to abandon the platforms or shy away from the platforms that those that are currently giving tithe and offering, if we shy away from that platform, we lose those donors. And we lose a lot of funding with no guarantee that that funding gets made up. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a reason ethically to not take a stand. I'm just saying that, like, from a pragmatic standpoint, that's hard. I actually just I just had a situation recently where a conference, this is a situation that I have very, very intimate knowledge of. A conference had to basically vote not to take legal action on a matter because even though taking legal action on the matter was the ethically and morally right thing to do, like it was the just thing to do to take is to take legal action on it, they voted not to because the cost would have been too high. And I literally mean that. There was going to be no way for them to recoup the costs, and there was no guarantee that they could get justice served in the specific case they were trying to build. And that's one of those things that's like when you're in a year where budgets have been slashed, where all unnecessary spending and where spending is basically incredibly restricted, then you also have to go and take some stand or begin taking a stand that is seen as anti what those donors typically would want. And I'm not trying to cast like a huge umbrella over an entire generation. That's not it at all. I'm just saying that, like, traditionally speaking, that's the case. The people that are giving tend to identify as more traditionally conservative. And there's actually a friend of mine, Kevin McGill, posted a article last night from one of the guys who founded the SDA Kinship International. And there was an interesting thing that he said in that article. Let me see if I can find it. Found it. Ronald Lawson. So I'm going to pull this over here. And then we're going to scroll all the way down. Where did I see this? Trying to find it. Trying to find it. I will find it. There we go. So the first, the membership and leadership of SDA Kinship, which is an LGBTQ plus advocacy and kind of like a membership organization. It's a support organization for LGBTQ plus Adventists. Was initially concentrated in Southern California. However, towards the end of 1979, they were planning to hold a national camp meeting, and the next summer invited me to a meeting in LA to help plan it. Like me, they were uncertain whether God accepted them. Their guilt and self-hatred had made it difficult to form a relationship with another man, even after marriages had failed, and this resulted in promiscuity and loneliness. The church had no answers for us, for no Adventist biblical scholar had researched our issue, and its rejection of us was based on proofreading a few isolated texts that had not been examined in historical context. I suggested that we invite the best Adventist scholars we could find and leading pastors also. I got the job of recruiting them, even though I had no suitable candidates at the time. So I recruited the heads of the OT, Old Testament, New Testament, and theology departments in the seminary, the pastor of Sligo Church, which is up in, I believe it's up in just across the street from like Atlantic Union College, I think, or something, what used to be formerly known as Atlantic Union College, rest in peace, and the only woman pastor in the church at that time. I asked each of the seminary professors to tell us whether God would accept gays and lesbians. All said that would be something new for them to explore, but they were eager to do it. They initially thought that they could slip away to the camp meeting without seeking permission, but when they discovered that 3 seminary professors were coming, they realized they needed to get permission. So they contacted the GC president, Neil Wilson, Ted N.C. Wilson's father, and they met at LaGuardia in NYC. And so listen to this, and I want you to see how this plays out, because this is the exact dynamic I was talking about. During the negotiations with Neil Wilson's special assistant, Duncan Ava, you have approached, he said, you have approached us. It is the responsibility of the church to reach out to you. However, he insisted on 2 conditions. Kinship could not use the participation of clergy as an opportunity to claim in the press that the GC had accepted homosexuality. And Colin Cook, who's claimed to be able to help homosexuals change and their sexual orientations was attracting favorable attention among church leaders, should be added to the 5 invited. By the way, if you want to see this, I'll put the link in chat. 40 people attended. They listened and told their stories. But listen to this, because this is interesting. The biblical scholars concluded, as a result of their study in advance of the camp meeting, that the Bible was silent about persons with a homosexual orientation, and that the little it said there was directed to heterosexuals having same-sex fun on the side. They argued that homosexuals, like heterosexuals, were called to faithfulness within a committed relationship and to chastity outside of such a relationship. So this is something, now granted, I can't confirm, or like this is someone's personal account of all of this. Granted, they were intimately involved in like planning this event, getting these people to come, all of that. So like, well, this is as close to a primary source as you're going to get. These scholars also drew up recommendations for the church leadership, which were forgotten when a letter campaign orchestrated by an independent right-wing publication queried whether the participation of GC-sponsored clergy in a homosexual camp meeting indicated that the denomination had, quote, accepted homosexuality. The North American Division Committee then voted that the church could not condone practicing homosexuals, that it could not negotiate with organized groups who called themselves SDA gays and lesbians or even engage in diplomatic relations with them, since church members would interpret this as recognition and endorsement of a deviant philosophy and lifestyle. Indeed, it voted to seek legal counsel as to what appropriate action can be taken to prevent such groups from using the name of the church. This is what I'm talking about. And honestly, like if I was going to start anywhere in this, outline, point number one, straight up, point number one is I want to deal with avoid the appearance of evil. Because this misunderstood phrase in the Bible is pretty much like responsible for a whole host of ways that we mistreat people. Avoid the appearance of evil. Because it's not a mistranslation, but we read it incorrectly. The actual way that this reads is avoid evil when it appears, not avoid the appearance of evil. So the way that this is traditionally interpreted, and I believe this is from 1 Thessalonians, maybe 2nd. 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Abstain from all appearance of evil. King James Version. That right there is responsible for so much pain because of how we have interpreted this. Because what we interpret this to mean is avoid doing anything that could be misconstrued as evil or sinful. But it really means avoid evil when it appears. Flee from it. This doesn't mean we run from people who are sinful, by the way. What this means is when evil shows up to you, it shows up in front of you, don't think that you're big enough to take on evil by yourself. Flee from it, run from it. This is like that's what this text is. And this has been used to control people nonstop. The Billy Graham rule is responsible. This is responsible for the Billy Graham rule. Outside of like men who can't control themselves, by the way. That's the other half of that. But avoid the appearance of evil is directly responsible for things like the Billy Graham rule. If you don't know what the Billy Graham rule is that no male leader is ever alone with a female at any point. That there's always a third party present. And while I understand the intent behind such a rule, the result of that rule is that women are treated unfairly, that women are not privileged to be able to have the exact same opportunities for conversation, for growth, for interaction that their male counterparts have. If anything, the Billy Graham rule has served to increase any sort of gap between genders, not decrease it. And instead of, and because, oh, well, you were meeting alone with, Pastor so-and-so, you were meeting alone with this female, or Pastor so-and-so, you were meeting alone with this male. What were you guys doing? I'm not sitting here and advocating like, oh yeah, let's just go do whatever we want. But there have been people who have lost their jobs because they met alone with someone, nothing happened, and that's all it took. And in fact, a ministry that I was involved with was pretty much blacklisted from an event for years because someone made a false accusation based on the appearance of something. We later, when we found this out, we determined that it wasn't true. Whoops. We determined that it wasn't true, and that blacklist we were able to prove that. But that's the kind of thing that's disgusting to me. Timothy, I won't presume to speak for women, but for myself, I wouldn't want the women in my life alone with certain men because of the man, not the woman. That's fine, but it's not, to me, it's like, if we make this about what we want, then that's the same attitude, right? Like, it's their choice. Now, if you know who those men are, and you know that you don't want this woman around them, like, what do you do? Like, do you I guess my concern would be like, I guess my concern there would be like, okay, so we just let that man continue to do whatever he does too. I just, that's what I'm saying. Like any attempt by us as men to speak into that, it becomes a problem, because that already is saying like we get to make this decision. That's why the conversation around abortion is so hotly contested too. It's a bunch of men typically talking about what a woman can and can't do with her body, and that alone has caused a lot of issues. Now, granted, if that problem ever gets solved, then that's one less argument out of the way, in favor of pro-choice, or at least in favor of women being able to make that decision. But like, that is reality there to some degree too. Whoa, what happened? There we go. My chat did. Yeah. What if we spend as much time and energy avoiding the appearance of evil as we did avoiding the appearance? Exactly. Thank you. Like, that's my thing, is when evil shows up, you flee from it, you protect yourself, and you get away. You ask for help. What's that Bible verse? I'm so bad at memory verses. I was never good. Getting diagnosed with ADHD was like the most freeing thing in the world for me, because I understood why I was so terrible at memorizing Bible verses. But yeah, resist the devil and he will flee. Submit yourself to God, resist the devil and he will flee from you. So the problem with avoid the appearance of evil from both a personal level and an institutional level is all of us are afraid to have this conversation. All of us are afraid to talk about LGBTQ+, not all, but a lot of us are, because we're afraid that someone will misconstrue it some way. We don't want to take the risk of doing this because either a job is on the line or a reputation is on the line, or from the institutional standpoint, we don't want, like the Ronald Lawson article here. Let me see where it is. We don't want to condone practicing homosexuals because, and we can't negotiate with organized groups or even engage in diplomatic relations with them, since church members would interpret this as recognition and endorsement of a deviant philosophy and lifestyle. There is so much wrong with that statement on its face. Like, there's so much wrong with this on its face. But ultimately, this is the problem. And as long as we're obsessed with the appearance of evil, like there's a responsibility from the church to actually address this stuff. Exactly. The semantics are like the difference of run from evil and hide the evil. Yep. So if I'm going to talk about this, I want to, like, my first point here would be about this. So, by the way, the way that I write, it may bother someone, but the way that I write is I kind of spill everything out and then I go back through and change things as I need to. The other thing you're going to notice is as we build this out kind of like a puzzle, there's going to be a lot of spaces here too. Part of that is to deal with jump cuts and things for the video, so I know where my natural breaks are. But yeah, so avoid the appearance of evil. That's definitely going to be point number one. We need to understand that properly, institutionally and personally. Because I think that right there is the difference between us being willing to associate with quote, the glutton, the drunkard, whatever, right? Associate with people that others consider unfavorable, and us not being willing to, and us rejecting them. And I think that alone can go so far. And I think institutionally we can fix that. Like, do you know what the correct response here? Even engage in diplomatic relationships, since church members would interpret this as recognition and endorsement of a deviant philosophy and lifestyle. You know what the answer is there? Then educate your church members and teach them how, like, it's not. But also, no. I have issues, and I've already talked about this. I have issues with us using lifestyle in general here. Lifestyle in general with homosexuality. But yeah, no, not a fan. All right, point number 2. What else? How else do we heal, or what else can we do as individuals to heal the relationship between LGBTQ plus people and the church? And honestly, I think introspection is going to be pretty much necessary. So I think education. I think I'm just going to say education here. Education, which includes conversations. It includes understanding or learning proper terms and why they're important. Understanding sexual identity. So education would include all of this. Find out where they got their, I'm assuming you mean where they got like their attitude from or their information from. Because I think one of the big things that I just lost my train of thought because I thought about something else. But like one thing that's a reality here is that I'm structuring this outline, and there's a lot that I know from my own education and experience in this area, and from listening to the conversations of others and interacting with friends of mine in the LGBTQ plus community. But ultimately, I think they're like this outline before I ever record. I'm definitely not recording this tonight, mainly because I want to make sure I go over this with someone that I trust from the LGBTQ plus community, to make sure that I'm on the right track with it too. But I want to build this together with us and see where we need to, where I can grow as well. I think an inherent flaw here is that we're creating this, and that I'm aware of. No one here identifies as a member of that community. If you do, more power to you, and cool. Speak up and help me out if you can, or private message me somewhere and help me out. I need to pull up that. So education, conversations, learning proper terms and why they're important, understanding sexual identity. Absolutely. So education is big here. Yes, exactly. So Angela, this is why this is such a hard topic, because to some degree there's a piece of this that can't be healed as long as the theological position doesn't change. And most people would just say, well, love the sinner, hate the sin, which already is its own problematic statement. But that is I think that's the $1 million question from the church is, how do I heal this without having to change the theological position? So I'd actually love to hear thoughts here. And Shemaiah, thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate the transparency there. But honestly, I think trying to figure out the best way to put this. The current thought in my mind is not everything needs to go through a theological position. But I think ultimately the way that I actually want to put this is Curtis, I don't know if it's possible for a theological position to come first. It's like saying that a better theology will bring people to a relationship with Christ. A better theology won't bring a better relationship with LGBTQ plus people. Absolutely. Because part of this is the damage that the old positions have done too, which, by the way, that's included in, I think that's something we need to include here is acknowledging and being open about the history behind it. But I think a better theology can help open the doors to a better relationship. Whatever better theology looks like. And I'm not really here to cast, like, the point of this video isn't to say whether or not the Adventist Church or conservative Christianity as a whole has this wrong. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is, can that bridge ever really be built as long as this position doesn't change? Like, the non-negotiable between both sides is I am LGBTQ plus on one side, and I believe that the other side is believing that being in acting romantically as a member of the LGBTQ plus community becomes a problem. But I think I do think that addressing so the reason I say accept that others who are different from you are just as loved as by God as you are, there's this prevailing attitude that of superiority that Christians in general tend to end up having. I've called it within Adventism, Adventist exceptionalism, but the idea of, like, because of our positions and our understanding of prophecy, biblical prophecy, Daniel, Revelation, the end times, all of that. A lot of us, or the Sabbath, is a lot of Adventists see themselves as superior to the evangelical church, or to greater Protestantism. And I would say the exact same thing is true. There's American exceptionalism. There's evangelical exceptionalism. Like, this is not just true of our denomination. This is true wherever people have some form of kind of group identity like this. But the downside is, like, we don't see people as, we don't see those individuals as loved by God. And as a result, we are unwilling to treat them as if they are loved by God. And that God is just as interested in saving them and loving them and caring for them as he is you and me. So I do think that this is something that I'm at least putting in here as a draft note here, but addressing the so Shemai, addressing the hurt that has been done in the past and present. In my experience with this, and in conversations with people that belong to the LGBTQ plus community, I found that addressing the hurt outright actually can cause more pain, because, like, it almost comes up as a non sequitur, like you're going out of your way. So it comes across as virtue signaling rather than being genuine. I think the more important thing to do would be to be willing to discuss the hurt, be willing to confront, address, and apologize for the hurt that has been done in the past. That's what I would love to see. Angelo, I do have some thoughts on that. The hospital's varying response was very much a business decision. I think the fleece case. So for those who are here who don't know about that, a sixth grade teacher at a Adventist K through 8th school in Central Florida. It was actually the school that I went to. all of my K through 8th years, I love that campus. But they recently let go, and I think recently in June, let go of a teacher who had appeared in a gay lifestyle magazine talking about being a gay father, and mentioned that he was in a relationship with another man in the article. And from there, the conference let him go, and that gained quite the number of headlines. And unfortunately for the teacher that was fired, I haven't checked on this in a while, but I'm pretty sure that there was enough legal middle ground that the school is actually still protected from a discrimination lawsuit, because even though he argued that the school receives state funds, none of those funds, including especially the COVID relief funding and PPP loans that I believe the conference and the school accepted, are actually covered, or actually mention LGBTQ plus discrimination as a disqualifier from state aid. They mention race, they mention gender and ethnicity, but they don't mention LGBTQ plus that I'm aware. That was the last time I checked on it. It's been several months though, so I'd have to look, which makes it hard for him to bring any sort of discrimination case forward, since it is a private employer, and I'm pretty sure Florida's also an at-will state. Acknowledging the part we played in hurting others. Yes. So this is where the introspection is. And this is where I want to identify how you personally have misunderstood and tell me how I typed title 6 or title like VI into Google and it autocorrected it. I hit enter and it went to VII. I stopped at one I. Don't give me two. Yeah, so I'm on the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Civil Rights Requirements, Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I don't know when this was updated, though. This may not be... Oh, yeah, 2013. Let me double check. Hold on. Let me look something up. Hold on. Yeah, right? That happened... Yeah, that happened that happened this year, right? Like, I hate to... Is it possible to be an Adventist ally? The reality is, like, the answer to this, I hate, like, I'm not trying to be reductionist, because it is very complex, but, like, at the end of the day, the answer to this is, like, be a decent human being and treat them like treat people like humans. That's the that's kind of like the baseline. And I think that's the problem that's a part of the problem that is broken the relationship between these two groups, is that many people are not treating others like people. Like at the end of the day, 6, like, treat people like people. And I think actually I'm going to put this here. Now, arguably, the way that I have point 6 worded falls apart if you don't believe that you're loved by God. And unfortunately, that's something that I find quite a lot is projection of, I don't believe that I'm loved by God. You can't be loved by God either. We project the self-hatred that we have onto others, and anything that we find gross or disgusting or unnatural to our own selves, then we find that we then project that self-hatred onto that. We see the worst of ourselves in others. Absolutely. In fact, Angela, I'm going to keep that one. I don't know if you're quoting something else, but I'm going to keep that. I want to add that to this. Oh, really? Are you really going to do this, Google? Thank you. Jeez. By the way, this video is totally not sponsored by them because I don't get any sort of, I don't have any branding or product deals, but this is my awesome mechanical keyboard that you can't currently. Let me see if I can turn off this light real quick so you can see this. So I love this keyboard. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. And if it's any further consolation, let me see if I can pull this out. I even have a GIF, like you can load a little GIF up. If it will it focus? I don't remember where my focus point is. I think it's trying to focus on my eyes. I think I have it set to like eye focus, but that's actually like the silhouette of my face that I use in the Absurdity logo and then my actual name. I love this keyboard. If you at all like mechanical keyboards, I would highly, highly recommend the SteelSeries Apex 5. All right, let me kick that back on, and I'm gonna darken that slightly. Seventh Day Projectors. What's funny, Curtis, is that my gamer tag and like everything I do is Projector. Back when I used to play League of Legends, I just changed my name to Projector one day. The game was like 7 years old at that point, or 6 years old, and somehow no one in that time had ever claimed that name. And so I use it for everything now. Now, granted, in other things, people have claimed it, so I have to like be creative at that point, but I was really proud of that. Not that it really matters. Do you use DaVinci? I have been switching over to DaVinci Resolve, actually. It's been the learning curve. I haven't had to do any color grading because I have color effects. So I do all of my video recording in OBS, which is the program I'm using to stream right now. So but I also do, I do all my recording in this, and I have the color correction and filters applied here. That way, because I include the transitions, like I have my subscribe transition, or like I have these different transitions. So there's my subscribe transition there, and it's set to a hotkey. So when I'm talking and you see that pop up, like that's where that's coming from. And I actually think that this comes underneath there. Like, thank you. I know that, and somehow I still just forgot in the moment. So thank you for that. All right, let me shift gears slightly here. Gonna get rid of that. Oh. Okay. I can't move forward without actually including this. To the point that what I'm going to do is actually this, and I'm going to put advocacy here. See you later, Shemaya. Thanks for joining us. So the idea behind advocacy is basically like all of this, every single other item on this list is virtue signaling at best, if we aren't actually putting our money where our mouth is in the moments that it counts. And that when someone is being actively mistreated. And by the way, like, belief or not, like, regardless of what your beliefs on the topic are, beliefs or not, someone can be mistreated and it still not go against, like, and it still be not in harmony with your theological position. Like, if someone is just being downright angry and mean and disrespectful toward someone in the LGBTQ plus community, then, like, that just deserves to be called out. Like, that deserves to be, and those people need to know that, like, if anything, that's this topic and around advocacy is the entire reason that I started Absurdity back in 2016. It's the entire reason. It was after the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, Florida, and that was a day where the following day is how I found out that many of my friends actually were members of the LGBTQ plus community. I remember one person even said, like, "Hey, I was planning to go there that night, and I just didn't because I was too tired." And that's when I realized, like, these were people that grew up going to the same schools I did, the same churches I did, and these are people that were forced to keep that quiet. And instead of ever having, I basically wanted to use whatever platform I have, whatever voice I have, to both elevate the platforms of others, but also to speak to matters and speak to these topics where people aren't being advocated for well. And very much this kind of thing was the impetus for everything that I do now. But yeah, I think advocacy is huge. Like, none of this matters if we're not actually going to do anything about it. And yeah, Angelo, I think I referenced you in a podcast episode when you guys did this, when you guys went to the vigil and did the prayer chain. And I won't mention the other person in that article, unfortunately, but I want to give credit that, like, it wasn't just you. But yeah, I think that's really cool. But that's the idea. Like, you can do things within the realm of advocacy that do not have to go against your theological position, but are just a basic, like, that's what I mean when I say, like, basic humanity. Like, this is kind of humanity and relationships 101 is like, this isn't some new age hippie stuff when I say, like, just love people. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to do. But we made it intentionally hard because so many of us were taught that this was something that isn't worth loving, or this is something that is gross and detestable and it's an abomination to the Lord, quote unquote. And that's sad to me because none of that, regardless of whether or not it's, like, I don't really, whether you think it's true or not, it doesn't really matter. If you're not treating someone like the human being they are and like the person created in the image of God that they are, then what are you even doing? Because it's certainly not loving people the way that God loves them. And right now, I would say that those outside the church are doing a much better job of treating people like human beings sometimes, especially when it comes to members of the LGBTQ plus community, than the church is. And when we're supposed to be known by how we love each other, that's kind of that. I mean, honestly, that's pretty much unacceptable. Yes, qualifying is so annoying. I can't just say, "Hey, I love you." I have to, so many people want, yeah, you love them, but also you don't, you don't really what? You don't accept them, right? Like you're going to call them to change, right? All the time. We feel like we have to qualify. And in fact, I think that's going to be my last one. I think that's going to be my last one here. How dare you make a rainbow prayer chain? I love this too, by the way. The entire irony that the LGBTQ plus community has somehow like hijacked the rainbow, which is which is like the symbol of God's promise within Christianity, to never destroy the world again with a flood. And I just think that's really funny that now, like, when Christians see the rainbow, they identify with it that way rather than the way that they would say the Bible identifies it as. I just think it's funny. It's kind of like just the culture war in general. Like the culture war in general, to me, seems like an entirely manufactured idea for political outrage. But I get that, like, I'm about to soapbox here, but that's how it feels to me. Like, no one actually cares about the whole Merry Christmas thing. It's just like someone somewhere was told Happy Holidays, and they freaked out over it and thought there was this war on Christmas. But, like, there's no war on Christmas. Love the sitter, hate the Sid. Wait, did I get that right? My mom and dad always tell me that the rainbow flag and stuff is not a good thing. Dean, one thing that I would really encourage you to do, is to do your best to understand why. Like, ask questions. Always ask questions. Because if they're right, I'm not saying, like, go back and, like, disrespect your parents or anything. Take care, Angelo. Thank you for your thoughts here, and thank you for sharing what you shared. You've definitely brought in some good stuff here. But Dean, I'm not saying, like, go back and disrespect your parents, but what I really mean is, like, truth can withstand scrutiny. So the idea is you can, like, truth never stops being truth if that's what it is. So if it can stand up to questioning and asking, why is it this way? Then there should be nothing to worry about. That being said, I don't know what Anne's stuff is, so I'm not going to speak to that, but to the rainbow flag, I'm just going to say, I really don't see a problem with any of the symbolism. To me, when I look at the rainbow flag, that LGBTQ plus people utilize, this is actually a reason for a lot of the flamboyant stuff within, or the quote hyper gay stuff that you see in, like, gay pride parades and stuff, is it's kind of them embracing something or reclaiming pride in something that everyone else told them for the longest time is what made them detestable and gross. The reason that the rainbow flag, too, one of the reasons the rainbow flag, not the reason, but one of the reasons the rainbow flag is so important is because it really does, by claiming it's also a reminder that God loves those people too. Pixie Dust, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I'm excited to make this video. It's not going to be tonight. I do want to spend some more time creating this and figuring it out, but this is something that I'm really excited about, and something I'm excited to make a video about later this week. Just creating an enemy where there isn't one. If I say liberal Christians are saying that the earth is a cube, and that's why why new churches don't have steeples, it's a good way to stir things up. Yep. That's exactly it. That's 100% it. There's actually I think this is like the third or fourth time I brought this up, but I do think it's really, really telling. There's a theory that exists right now, a very popular one, that there are many people that believe that even though conservatives have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, they won't actually do anything to overturn Roe v. Wade or do anything to really limit or do much. Like, they'll do the very, very bare minimum for abortion, but not go all the way with it. Because if they do, Republicans suddenly lose all of the single issue voters, or not all of them, but like a lot of them who would say like, yeah, the only reason I'm voting Republican is because of their stance on pro-life. That's pretty much it. I don't agree with literally anything else, but I value this one thing enough that I'm willing to vote Republican. And they lose that whole group. And there's a lot of them. So there is a theory that says, like, now that the Republicans have, like, I was listening to someone earlier today say that it's so easy to be the group that isn't in power because the entire time you get to complain about things that are going on, but you don't actually have to do anything because you can't. Like, Democrats for the last 4 years have been able to just complain about Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump and the GOP blocking bills, but they don't actually have to do anything about it. But they can use that as a way to garner votes in favor and, try and flip Senate seats and House seats and, you name it. And now, like there is a, I think, a valid reasoning to some people saying, like, yeah, none of these leaders actually want, like, no one wants the majority, because if they get it, they actually have to follow through on their promises. And once you follow through on the promises, you may end up losing the very people that supported you because of those promises if they don't support you in the other things. All right, so we've got some really good things here. I've got 5 points that I think I can work with here to develop the actual outline as a whole, or like the script itself. Probably not going to do the script tonight. My voice is killing me, and B, I'm exhausted. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the stream, I was up for 24 hours. I went to sleep at like 8:30 this morning because of a emergency that happened last night. Don't worry, everyone's fine, but I didn't get any sleep as a result. So I am exhausted, but I am going to switch gears here and just play a couple rounds of some Smash Bros and hang out for a bit before I call it a night. So anyone have any further thoughts on the outline? Anything that you think should be added or that you disagree with? Because I'm open to disagreeing. Like, I'm 100% open to that conversation. If there's something here that you think like, I don't think that's good, or I think that like you're misinformed here or whatever. Like, I'm genuinely, I want to make sure that the information I present is right. So if there's a perspective here that I'm not aware of, please let me know. But yeah, I'll switch gears, but thanks for hanging out. If you haven't yet, please click subscribe. Please. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours before May, basically. I'm trying to hit 1,000 before May. So what do you kind of disagree with, Dean? The flag? Yeah, man. Curtis, of course. You know I'm going to fix everything. That's how I roll. Dean, the only thing I can say is I would encourage you to follow the steps that are literally listed here. So I would encourage you to ask some people if you know of any LGBTQ plus people at school any friends that you have, I would ask them about the flag. I would ask them about that culture. Um, and I would say, like, Google it. Google why do LGBTQ plus people, why does the LGBTQ plus community use the rainbow flag or have the rainbow as their flag? I would heavily encourage you to research that, to look into it, and to find those answers. Absolutely. And I will be right back real quick. All right. Let me hit home here. Oh, wait, no, I can't put that there. That's got to go there. Yeah, I do have. I have the anniversary edition for Super Mario. So I have Super Mario 64. I have Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Sunshine. And I'm actually excited. I keep forgetting I have them, but I really enjoy playing through them. I never got to play through them as a kid. I was a child when 64 came out. I had a GameCube, but never owned Super Mario Sunshine. And Galaxy I owned, but never got around to beating. So. Goodbye. I can't believe I let that happen. Goodbye. No! Ah. I should have ended him after the misstep beat, but okay. He's gonna live. That's over. GG.
You're good, but I am better.
Man, Ness is one of my least favorite matchups on any character. He is one of the most annoying characters to fight. Every move is a disjoint, basically, which means that his, like, if you were to trade, if you guys hit each other at the same time, it'd be like, imagine, like, punching someone when they, oh no, I didn't mean to do that, I was focused on thinking. But imagine trying to punch someone who's swinging at you with a baseball bat, right? Like, you're gonna hit their bat, they're gonna hit you. Yeah, he is. Goodbye. Yeah, Ness is one of the ones that I really struggle with. Oh, come on. Yeah, that's over. I really struggle against Ness. If you were just joining us, thank you for being here. We just finished talking about episode outline and figuring out an episode figuring out the next video for absurd or for this YouTube channel. So I'm just ending the night with a few video games. I'm exhausted. I had a 24-hour day yesterday, so I'm just ending with a little bit of chill, wind down, and then calling it a night. But you're welcome to catch the VOD, and if you want to see. Otherwise, you'll see that video probably later this week as I have a chance to finish it up. Hey, Jessica. Glad you're here. Yeah, I'm just hanging out, but I would definitely encourage you, like, rewatch the VOD if you want to see a little bit of how I craft a video outline, and I kind of did it together with viewers, but we had a good time. Very much talked about healing the broken relationship between the church and the LGBTQ plus community, and what church members and individuals can do. Yeah, I'm dead. Yeah, what church members and individuals can do for to help heal that. By the way, Jessica, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I am trying to hit that 1,000 sub mark by May. I'm at 513 or something. So yeah, definitely wanna get there, so I can monetize this channel. And you have to do it within any given 12-month period. And because I had about the majority of my subs, or the majority of the 500 subs I have, came between May and July. Awesome, thank you so much. Ah, bummer. Yep, I have. Oh, thank you so much. That's the kind of support that I need, Jessica. I want to buy you lunch one day. No real reason other than I just do. Tell me what you want. I'm buying you some lunch one day. I'll just cash app you some money. You can eat to your heart's content. Oh, that's gonna get me. He got me with a back air. But because we traded, it just looked like... It didn't look like he actually hit me at all, but he got me with a back air. Yeah, I heard that The Office is gonna be removed from Netflix. Is it going anywhere, though? Like, what's its next destination afterward? Also, Jessica, any other topics or videos you want to see me talk about or cover? I would love to... I'm trying to start creating a list of kind of a content list of anything. Is there anything that you would want my opinion on, or something you think would be beneficial for me to cover? Yeah, let me know. You can comment, you can send me, I don't know if you, can you send people messages on YouTube? I don't even know. I don't think you can, but you can just leave it in a comment, or next time I'm live, just let me know. Oh, no! All right, I'll take the trade. I will take that trade. I appreciate it. I very much want to cover... If there's anything that I can talk about that can be of assistance and be of help, like, I'm all about it. Got him. Woo! That was tense. This is one of those, like... That was one of those, like, the next hit basically gets the stock. Oh no! Will I make it? I should not have done that. That was not safe. Game over. Got him.
Sorry, gotta check.
Actually, Jessica, if you're still here, you can also just email me. That was a really good match with this Mario. I'm gonna do... If he rematches, this will be my last one. If he wins, though, I have to do best of 3, obviously, so... unless he doesn't rematch again. But if he does rematch, all about it. Game for the best 2 or 3 here, and then I'm gonna call it a night, because, yeah, I'm exhausted. Mario's hard because he's a short character. Falco has a high short hop. He kind of has higher up moves, so shorter characters tend to duck under everything. Oh, he did not mean to do that. What a bummer. Oh, nice. Well played on his part. I didn't think he'd react in time. Goodbye, friend. Oh, he read that if he had timed that right. Is that it? Oh, he saved me? Oh, no! He lost because he saved me. What a selfless act. I'm going to give him the rematch there if he wants it. That's... That feels bad. I would have gone down on that stock if he hadn't done what he did. Nope, he gave up. I'm already here. That feels bad. Ooh, that feels bad. All right, this is it. Win or lose. Oh, DK.
2, 1, go!
Shocker. Nice. Nope. That was not safe for him. Oh no, I jumped twice. Bummer. I jumped twice for the combo. Okay. That was a little bit overzealous. Yeah, he can make that. But he can't make that. I don't think he was expecting what happened to happen. Either that or he just misclicked. And that's why I hate DK. Oh no! I might lose this one, actually. Win it with a gun. Oh, pew pew for the win. Oh, pew pew. Laser too strong. 3% damage. No, thank you. 3% is a stock taker. %3 is a stock taker. All right, he wants the rematch. Let's see if we can take this into.
3, 2, 1, go!
So he likes to wait out because DK has a really, really terrible recovery because it is super exploitable if you can get directly above him. So what he likes to do is jump far out and come horizontally as much as possible to prevent someone from doing what I just did. So the problem is that he does that every time. Man, he keeps... I'm really mad. Oh, okay, I thought that was going to get me. Oh, no! Got him. Oh. Little footstool. Little footstool. And then he always does the regular getup. So I get to do that for free. Every time. Every time. All right, everyone. Good night. It has been fun. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share with a friend. And yeah, I'm excited to release that video on healing the relationship between the church and LGBTQ plus people later this week. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And we'll hopefully see you tomorrow.